Hey y'all, welcome to our episode of Thoughts of a Rambling Mind. As y'all know, I only do videos when I see things that intrigue me to talk about them, and I'm intrigued, so here we go. I'm watching, I see this Will Smith Chris Rock situation, and I'm really disturbed. I'm disturbed because since 9/11, I've been watching the media, the powers that be, pull the wool over the eyes of the people, and the people just eat it up. And since 9/11, there's been a nonstop a barrage of false information and trickery being put out by the media, Hollywood, government, and it's all been deceiving the people. It started with the government, and now everybody seems to be following suit. And we've gotten to the point where now Hollywood is pulling off these giant ruses against the people. Okay, we're going to start off real quick. Take a look at the picture, the freeze frame of Will smacking Chris. We're talking about the freeze frame that shows after the hand crosses the face, Chris Rock is still turned to the side, meaning he has just been slapped live in front of the entire world. There's a smile on his face. Not only that, before I even go into evidence, let's just do with just random information, just my own personal opinion information, right? Just things that I observe. Now, Will Smith is an actor, right? We're gonna start there. Chris Rock is also an actor. I know people keep calling him a comedian. He hasn't been a comedian for many years. He is an actor. Okay. They've known each other for many years, like multiple decades, right? They're millionaires. They're both squeaky clean guys. And when I say squeaky clean, we know what that means in America. They're squeaky clean guys, right? No history, no smut on their names. Chris Rock is a professional at what he does, and so is Will Smith. Now, these guys have been part of award shows and roasting sessions year after year after year. They've been the topic of jokes year after year after year. The entire internet talks about them day after day. Will Smith has been the subject of all type of ostracization, if I said that word correctly. He's never, in his entire career, reacted in this way. This guy is a hip hop artist turned actor, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, for God's sakes, right? Now, there was a time in Europe somewhere, Will Smith was greeting fans, and a reporter approached him, and this reporter felt it necessary to grab Will and kiss him on his face. Now, Will smacked him, and when I tell you the smack he gave him was such a sissy, bent wrist smack, it looked nothing like the smack that he gave Chris Rock for telling a couple jokes. One situation, Will Smith was actually assaulted and sexually molested in his mind. And he reacted in a natural way. In that moment, we all saw who Will Smith truly was. He was out of character. But even out of character, the smack that he gave showed a lifetime of training that would not allow him to break out of the person who Will Smith was supposed to be. On that night that he smacked Chris Rock, Will Smith cocked his arm back so far, it was into such an unnatural position, it looked like a scene from a movie. It looked like something that you do for the cameras. Then he swung. Now, when you hear the contact, it's a thudding contact, not a smacking contact. Listen, play it back. You'll hear it yourself. It's a thudding contact, not a smacking contact. Chris Rock reacts immediately with the physical reaction expected to see from a smack, except there's a smirk on his face. Will Smith then proceeds to leave the stage. Now, can you tell me how angry you'd have to be to leave your seat. Now, mind you, the joke in question he laughed at. So he either found it amusing himself, or regardless of whether or not he found it amusing, he understood that the cameras were on him and that there was a way that he was supposed to act in this particular situation, which is laugh at the joke, applaud, nod your head, and if you got a problem with it, you talk about it afterwards off stage. The narrative is that Will Smith looked at his wife, saw her reaction, and he reacted in defense of his wife's honor. Let me be very clear to you. He could have gone to Chris Rock with his wife after stage and did all of what he said he did. So I'm going to go ahead and call Will Smith a clown for what he did. And the only reason I'm going to call him a clown for what he did is because I'm not sure if Chris Rock was involved in the hoax. If Chris Rock was involved in the hoax, shout to Chris, you don't have an ego, and you did this to help your boy Will out. But I just don't see any pluses for Chris Rock in doing this and continuing afterwards, the parade of Will Smith smack Chris Rock thing. I don't get it. But what I will say is if Chris Rock was not a part of this, I think Will Smith was an asshole, right? And not an asshole because he embarrassed himself. Listen, you disrespect my wife, and I feel that way about it. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to do more to you than what Will Smith did, allegedly, to Chris Rock, right? So I don't blame or judge him if those were the true sentiments. The only problem is those were not the true sentiments. I don't even got to think about that, right? Will Smith laughed at this joke. He did not immediately react and go up there. He did not think about it himself and go up there. No, he laughed and he applauded this joke that he then smacked the man for giving. Whether he laughed at it because he thought it was humorous or because he was playing a role that you do in Hollywood, it doesn't matter. The point is that you had a completely different course of action than the one you took initially. And that lets me know that that entire thing was an act. From the time you got out of your seat to the time you got on stage and struck that man, it was an act. And it was an act completely on your part, 100% on Will Smith's part. That was an act. But I'm not sure how involved Chris Rock was in that. And if he wasn't involved in that, I think that was a really corny thing to do at the expense of another black man. All right? Let's just be really honest. Will Smith, throughout the course of this year, has put serious damage. His wife has put serious damage on his masculinity. And this was a vain attempt of getting some of that ground back, and I think that it just, to me, emphasizes how little of a man Will Smith is. One thing about men is that we don't have to promote for the world to know how much men we are. It doesn't matter what people think about us as long as our family understands who we are. So this show for the world was unnecessary, it was unmanly, and I don't respect Will Smith for it, except if Chris Rock was involved. And then if Chris Rock and Will Smith were both involved, well, then it was a good show. Kudos to them, kudos to the Academy Awards, and you guys are idiots for falling for it. Anyway, those are my thoughts for Rambling Mind. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out.